Hello, this is Hillary Sorge, and I'm presenting part one of our macroeconomics presentation on the United States trade deficit with Cameron Wagner. The definition of a trade deficit is the amount by which the cost of a country's imports exceeds the value of its exports. Simply, right now we're importing more than we are exporting. In order to make the goods that are imported and exported, you need labor and capital. Americans in general per capita have more access to capital than most of the countries we currently have a deficit with. And then these countries usually have more access to labor forces. These labor forces are also cheaper labor forces due to lack of minimum wage in the country or a lower minimum wage, so they are able to make the product cheaper. Since 1980, the United States has consistently imported significantly higher amounts of consumer goods and oil than it has exported. The highest trade deficits currently occur with China, Japan, Mexico, Canada, Germany, and Saudi Arabia. Dollar-wise, these numbers are very high, reaching the trillions, and are continuing to increase. This is continuing to create problems in the American economy, and this information is thoroughly published quarterly by the United States Commerce Department, which makes this easier to research and also is very publicized to understand how big of a problem this is. This is a graph for the current overall trade balance from the March 2013, which compiled the first quarter from January to March 2013. Right now it's at 38.8 billion deficit overall trade balance. The next few graphs are going to show country by country what our trade deficit are. These numbers are all in the millions, and they go from left to right from 2012 to 2009. You can see here in China that we are slowly increasing our deficit with them. Right now, the number being at 315,053 million. Mexico, this one's a little bit up and down. We are currently decreasing with them, which is a step in the right direction, with that number being at 61,221 million. Saudi Arabia is the fastest growing. Now we are importing mostly oil from this country, and as you can see, it has more than doubled in the last 4 years what we are importing from them. The Obama administration did do a stimulus package to try and offset this problem. An article published in the New York Times by Alan Tonelson and Kevin Kearns states that the government injected $512 billion into the American economy, but during roughly the same time period, the trade deficit leaked about $602 billion out into foreign markets, which means we basically offset the fact that they injected all of the money into it and nothing was accomplished by this stimulus package. There are many arguments on as to how to fix this problem, the main one being in social versus policy change. The arguments for social change are people at home need to make conscious decisions as to what they're purchasing, that they're local grown or American made. We also need to look into using more renewable resources and recycling. Policy change has a lot of arguments within it. A lot of people think we need to protect ourselves more, making our import and export laws stricter. Short-term versus long-term arguments. People here argue if we should just do quick fixes until we can figure out a better plan for the long term. And then the long-term goals would be something we don't see right away, but in the end set us up to a better position in the world trade economy. The third area is trade statistics calculations. Right now we currently use where the product is made as to how we do calculations for this. The people that argue we should change it argue that since these companies are American owned, the products that we import from the foreign country but are owned by American companies should not be considered as imports since the capital is coming from Americans and it's also coming back to America. The second part of this will be presented by Cameron Wagner, and he will cover how other countries have done this all the way through our survey results we did.